I guess we've seen peak Test cricket today, where India were 163 for no loss. Shafali Verma was on a 50. Smriti Mandhana was on a 50 plus, and we ended the day at 187 for five. Five wicket collapse. Obviously, our openers who did really well went out, but our night watcher Shikha Pandey didn't manage to stick around. Mithali Raj and Poonam Raut followed very soon with a couple of bad shots, rash decision making towards the end where you just needed stability. We have Deepti and Harman at the beginning of day three's play, but look, it's never ever good for the morale to end the day on such a low when we started it so well. Granted, Sophia Dunkley, who did really well, Anush Rabzol hit us around the park for a bit, but we turned that mentality around. We came out and showed England what we can do. It's just unfortunate that they end with the upper hand. It's going to be a competitive couple of days left. I'm hoping the game isn't stolen from India and it doesn't become a one sided affair. But here's a quick chat I had with Georgie from Women's Cricket Chat covering day two of the England versus India one-off test match. Have a look.
Right, well, today we are looking at the second day of the England-India test match, and as days go, like, bloody hell, it went from one thing to another quite quickly, didn't it? So joining me today, I have Radha from She Talks Ball, and coming in at 8 kilos, we have Tuffers, who has just arrived and is now going to give us the male perspective on the situation, or he's just going to eat my foot, which is what he's currently doing. So, yes, what were your thoughts on the day then, Radha? Because Shafali Verma, no, you can't ignore that on debut. And yes, out for 96, but that's 96 on debut, age 17. And at 17, I think I was pretending I understood my AS levels and I really didn't.
I think it was just a day of peak test cricket where everything is unpredictable. You just are on the edge of your seat for a large chunk of the day, and it went from batting to bowling to batting again, and then bowling towards the end where there was just a flurry of wickets. I think overall, I think that the match is tipped in the favour of the English a little more than it was the previous day, but we did see role reversal where the end of day one was England collapse, and then the end of day two we have an India collapse. So I'm hoping that it's still a competitive match going forward, but it's a very entertaining one, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm on mute. Even a year into a pandemic, I'm still on mute. It's one of those things people say Test cricket is dead, it's boring. No, it's not. Test cricket has the chance to turn around so quickly, and it's one of those things. I was walking along listening to it, and then suddenly it was wickets going, and then there was another one, and I was like, oh, the night watchman in. We'll have a talk about that language in a minute, because night watch woman. I'm going to say night watch guard, but I think night watcher became the consensus. And then suddenly, what was the score at close of play?
Try to completely erase it from my mind. I think it was around 187 for 5 at stumps.
Yeah, 187 for 5. So what, trailing by 209. So still got to get another 9 to avoid the follow on.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see you see the Indians getting 9 runs. But what was your highlight of the day?
My highlight of the day has to be Shafali's innings, and not just the end score, but the way it progressed and the temperament of a test player. I could see that in Shafali. On debut, incredible. Young 17-year-old, incredible. Hasn't played too much first-class cricket in India. Coming into this big stage, away from home, chasing a big total. I think it was fantastic display of cricket from Shafali, and credit to Smriti for guiding her. I'm sure there was a lot of talking going on in the middle, and Smriti was rotating strike at correct times. Shafali was very patient, and I think one thing we haven't seen in her game yet is patience. We haven't needed to see that in T20s. So it's good to see that she has it there. It's good to see that she just saw the new ball out, and then Catherine Brunt was maybe pestering her a little bit, so she kind of took her on, because that's her natural game, and it paid off. So it's good to see that she's able to adapt to situations and really last in the middle for a good amount of time. It'll hold her in good stead going forward.
Also, I love that. I personally would not take on Catherine Brunt. I said earlier, I definitely wouldn't take her on a Monopoly. No, thank you. She is a right grafter. And then Shafali's like, I'm just going to hit you 4 back over your head, whatever, carry on. And, it was kind of like a poke the bear situation. And Shafali was coming out on top. And it's amazing to see. And then sort of almost two ends of the spectrum. By no means Catherine Brunt retiring anytime soon, because she's one of those people you whip out the R word and she's like, sorry, what? Comes out with a 5 for or something. Got what, 17-year-old versus someone who has been such a stalwart of the English game for such a long time, taking each other on, and like fair battle. I loved it.
It was fantastic. And yeah, I think Catherine Brunt is probably more than double Shefali's age. That comes with a lot of wisdom, a lot of experience. But, you know, at the same time, the youngster wasn't afraid. And I think fearless cricket is part of a young cricketer's mindset. And it was very good to see that she kind of came out on top. Maybe second innings we'll have a different story. But Catherine Brunt, you know, with so many years of experience, still has maybe something to work on how to get the better of a cricketer who's fearless. How do you do that?
Yeah, and that's what's so lovely as well to see, is that obviously Shefali, we know her as this big hitter, take it on. And I was wondering before, like, whether she would come in and whether she would play a different game and whether they'd asked her to sort of hone it in a bit. But that's not what she's there for. You don't bring in a smash batsman and then be like, right, defend, because that's not what it's about, is it? Even if she's opening, that's her way of playing. There's no point. If it ain't broke,
don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
I think her mode of survival is attack, and that is a perfect strategy. If it works for her, you know, don't alter it. Don't do anything. Let her play her natural game so early into her career. I think it's best for her to flourish in her own light and experience what works and what doesn't, and then of course adapt to situations as they come along the way.
And you just gotta love it. Like the fact that she's 17. I'm like, okay, right. So I was 9 when you were born. Good. And then they're like, you'd think, okay, what, she can be playing for another 20 years? And then I'm like, oh God, I'm going to be 46 at that point. Like, what am I doing with my life, you know?
Yeah, I think that question always comes up when Jemima Rodrigues sort of broke first into the cricketing scene. She's my age. So my sister was like, you're 18, what are you doing with your life? And now my sister, who's 17 right now, I go to her and say, you're 17, what are you doing with your life? Look at Shefali. So I think it's come full circle, and it's incredible to see these youngsters. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what's in store. I feel like India are coming up to some sort of a golden age where we have these youngsters who will be, you know, in the range of 25 to 30 in the upcoming years. And we've got a lot of World Cups, Commonwealth Games, a lot of tournaments to look forward to. So it's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you're like, please look at this and see how good this test match is and give us more.
Absolutely. And it was so nice to see on Twitter. It was bittersweet, but everybody on Twitter was blaming themselves for Shefali's wicket, saying that, oh no, I stepped out of my room, or oh no, I did this, I did that.
And that's such a cricket thing. It's like, oh, I put my shoe on the wrong foot first, therefore I'm out. Or tweeting, oh, she's doing so well. But what I also loved, like, yes, it was sad to see her get out on 96, but I love that she didn't get to 96 and then go, right, you know, I'm going to play a completely different game. I'm just going to block and take the ones. Like, you're going to go for it. And like I said, she's basically got 100, you know. I'm going to give her 100. She gets extra kudos points for going for it with the 6. So Shefali got 100, well done. But it's funny because obviously we discussed Heather Knight yesterday with her 95 and a 96. And I love how it's becoming not just a celebration of, like, just because you've reached 3 figures, yes, that's amazing, but 95 is only 5 runs off that, 96 is only 4 of that, and we're really celebrating what is normally called the nervous 90s. But actually, I think the 90s have been pretty nifty, and yes, get out earlier, but we can celebrate 2 really phenomenal scores.
Yeah, they're vital contributions for their team, and often we just look at that 3 figure and say, oh, that's special. If you look at the scorecard, it will show Heather Knight and Shefali Verma have hit half centuries, which just absolutely does not do justice to the contribution that they brought to their teams. And I think we can definitely celebrate a 90. It's, I mean, as you said, it's an honorary 100 almost. And the contribution 4 runs up or down would have been the same. The mentality that the following batsman had would have been the same. And I think the confidence that it provided to the partner on the non-striking end also would have been the same. So for me, yeah, it was a celebration nonetheless.
So I feel like we've probably spent enough time celebrating Shefali because we got many, many years of this. We'll both be in rocking chairs by the time she stopped celebrating her. So yeah, bit of a collapse, end of the day there. Like some pretty, we thought England had a collapse yesterday, and this has made our collapse look like a pretty solid wall, you know? Do you think they can recover to how close can they get to England's score, do you think? Or is this kind of like, oh God, downward spiral? Or did close of play come just at the right time?
Yeah, that's what I was like. Stumps could not come fast enough for us, and definitely it's a harder and more uphill battle than it was maybe a couple of hours ago. But there are always two sides to it. The fact that it's 4 days and that there is a time limit is that we could get out, but England can't keep batting forever because that just plays for a draw, and England possibly want to win here. So a lot of strategy comes into when do we declare? Do we go out hard for the first hour and then declare and sort of get them out? So I think it's a very interesting battle, and I think as all test matches go, it's never over until it's over.
And that is the noise of my dog just happily interrupting everything.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think that it's never over until it's over. So I'm looking forward to a good uphill climb. We've got veterans in Harmanpreet Kaur, and Deepti Sharma has shown that she's able to make a big score when needed. And I'm looking forward to a good, gritty contribution by those two.
The joys of working from home. Dog with small man syndrome, just barking away. He's like, I want to be included in the chat. Dog, yes, we get it. You were annoyed by the collapse at the close of play, but if you could stop talking, that'd be quite nice. Because I want to talk, and Radha wants to talk. Yeah, so obviously you went from, 167 for none.
Yeah.
Had that mighty collapse at the end, but yes, collapses, but they happen you don't know whether it's because we have lack of test matches. You see collapses in teams that play test matches all the time. It just happens. And do you think used wicket might have had anything to do with it? Or is it just sort of, oh God, shock system, didn't really think I'd be coming in this soon?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both, but I think that the used wicket was not too much of a part. I think it was more just the mentality of the players and how, they were sitting in the dugout for a good 3-4 hours, just waiting for someone to get out, but that didn't happen. And maybe they kind of eased up a bit, maybe they relaxed a bit. And I think one key aspect in that third session was that England had really fast over rates. So the batters just didn't get a chance to settle down, and the bowlers were like, we're ready, get to your crease, and we're going to bowl you another over. So I think it was a combination of great pressure by England and just not the ability to settle down by the Indian batters. I think the pitch might have had a role, but not enough to cause that kind of a collapse.
Yeah, and I don't know how we've made it this far without chatting other celebrations. Sophia Dunkley, how great was that to see? And not out at the end of it. And it's so nice to see you. Yes, you're an India's fan, but you're obviously also just a cricket fan. And yeah, I think anyone of any nationality could celebrate that today because it was just so nice to see. And it's what you want. And that smile, you can't deny it. She's one of the smiliest cricketers you've ever seen. And it's great, I loved it. It was so nice to see.
I celebrated that so hard. And there was a point at 48 not out where she was given out and she took a review and I was like, please let it be not out. I want her to get to her 50. And after getting to a 50, going on, sort of switching gears, reaching some 70 odd runs, I think it was a very, very good debut performance, right up there with Shefali Verma. Totally different situation coming in, at a certain number versus up top, and coming in at the end of a third session post a collapse. It takes a lot of mentality to kind of, throw the pressure back on the opposition, and she did really well there. And I think at the beginning of India's batting, she dropped Smriti Mandhana, if I'm not wrong. And I think if there was anybody in the world who would have been forgiven for that drop, it was Sophia Dunkley. So I think we'll let you off this time. That was fine.
But what also was quite crucial at the end of England's innings was like, we were all thinking, okay, they need to sort of accelerate a bit here now. We've only got 4 days, And then in comes Anish Robsol and she's like, girl, I got this. Starts just smacking it around the ground, and England suddenly, what did England finish on?
396.
Yeah, exactly. And Anish Robsol just comes in and does what Anish Robsol does. Yeah,
I think she just sees India and says, I'm going to go into beast mode, and you're going to see something you've never seen before. It was with the ball a couple of years ago. It was with the bat this time. A great tail-enders innings in a test match when you want to declare, you want to go out on the field. Your entire team has got their whites on, ready to do some bowling, and she's out there saying, hold up, give me a couple of overs, let me make 40 odd runs. We'll have a good target on the board then, and then we'll go out and defend that.
What's also quite nice to see as well, they call Heather Knight a bit of the golden arm. It's something about these England captains. You got Joe Root does it. He just turns up, seems to get a wicket. Heather Knight, she's quite nifty with the ball, actually.
Very good. And I think it was a mix of poor batting choice by the Indians, but there's absolute credit to the bowler there because you have to have consistent pressure. You have to have good execution of your line and length, and surely if the batter are in their form, they would defend it. But if they're not, you're going to catch them out. And she did that twice. Good cotton bowl towards the end of the session, confidence to the bowler, and you could immediately see the noise levels on the stump mic by the 11 English women on the field was through the roof. And I think there was a bit of a contrast here because the Indian used a lot of energy from the field to get wickets, and the England women first got the wickets and then added pressure to an extent that there was such a collapse. So it was nice to hear something other than go on Crossy, go on Sophie. We heard some actual banter towards the end, which was great fun as well.
That's what we love. That's what we love. So looking ahead to tomorrow, what are your predictions on the Indian score?
Yeah, I would like to say 300. I think about 120 odd runs from our last 5 batters would be great. Would be an ideal score, maybe to then go out and get the Englishwomen out as well. But realistically, I think it's hard. We're away from home. All the statistics have sort of stacked up against us coming up to this Test match. So it'll be a very gritty performance. I did not expect that kind of a performance from Smriti and Shefali in the top order, this morning. So I think I would like to say the same, and I would like to think that we could actually pull it off as well. I'm just looking forward to a couple of competitive days. If India could collapse, I think England could collapse as well. And another thing I've noticed with India is we don't take the easy chances, but we manage to take the difficult ones. So if we start taking the easy ones, we're going to be better off. And I think that's
the way to go. We can already do the difficult. We need to do the easy. Much easier than doing it the other way around.
It is, and I hope that they execute that tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably quite a nice place to round off. So today we've seen debutantes absolutely doing their thing and showing us the future of women's cricket is in good hands, but also the veterans doing their thing too, which is lovely. We've had another collapse. We've had a hell of a lot of runs. We've had a lot of entertainment, some sixes, fours, everything. And fingers crossed, the rain that I can currently hear outside doesn't make its way to Bristol tomorrow, because if it does, they're going to be playing in kayaks. And I will tune in again with you tomorrow, and we will catch up on day 2 of the India-England or England-India, depending which way round you want to say it. Doesn't bother me. Test match. So
yeah, sounds good.
Nice to chat to you, and see you tomorrow. And everyone, enjoy day 3 of the Test match.